Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Stewart. I am the founder and lead financial coach at Do Better Financial. I am aware that I look a little different today. You will have to excuse my work look. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But today is going to be the second installment of our disaster recovery tips, or hurricane relief recovery tips, if you will. I did one last Wednesday from Chicago. I am back in the Houston area by the grace of God. I caught the last flight that had a seat to Austin, and my wonderful mother drove all the way there, picked me up, and drove me to Houston because there was nothing coming to Houston until probably today. So let's get right into it. So the first thing I wanted to discuss was some emergency housing. Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for joining us today. Is emergency housing. So I know that there are some people who are already either in the FEMA-approved hotels or they're still in shelters. There are actually people, and I saw a few of them today, who are still looking for a place to go. Hi, Brittany. Thanks for joining us today. Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining us today. There are still people who are looking for places to go. So here are some things that you can utilize if you're still looking for somewhere to stay. And maybe you're staying with friends and you feel like you're overstaying your welcome, whatever it is. Airbnb, if you are in need of housing, or if you would like to offer free housing, you can go on Airbnb. There are going to be two buttons at the top that say urgent accommodations. You can either say I need it or I want to offer it for free, and you can go on there and find some pretty amazing places for you and your family to stay, and you can figure out exactly what the arrangement is, how long it lasts. I can't give you specifics on most of that. Hi Phyllis, thanks for joining us today. But just go out there and check it out. Now, as for the FEMA vouchers for hotels, if you're going to a hotel, and this is what I ran into today, we actually opened up a distribution center at my church today, and I was there working this morning, and one of the last things we did was go try to get some of the FEMA-sponsored hotels, or FEMA-approved hotels, rather, and get some handouts and flyers to them to let them know that there were things if they need to pick up toiletries, clothing, cleaning supplies, blankets, stuff like that, diaper, all of those types of things. We were trying to get them out to them, and we actually had a couple while I was in there that were looking. They had FEMA vouchers, but there was no space in the hotel that they went to. So I want to encourage you. There is a list of FEMA approved hotels, and it's actually www.FEMAevachotels.com, and I'll post all of these links in my video. I just like to say them out loud in case somebody's listening and scribbling down. FEMAevachotels.com, EVAC hotels.com, and it'll give you a list of the hotels in the Houston or surrounding areas. I mean, all the way down to Port Aransas, all the way over to Beaumont, Humble. Hi, Brian. Thanks for joining us today. Conroe, the whole 9 yards, including Dallas and San Antonio as well. I know a lot of our evacuees headed to those two cities. A few are in Austin, I believe, too. So they have hotels all over the place. You can get all of them on that website, but call them first. You don't want to be driving around town trying to find out whether or not they have space. Go ahead and call them. They'll tell you. Same thing for shelters. So if you're looking for shelters, there is a list that I'm going to post. It's from KHOU, and they actually tell you on their website, call these shelters before you go. They had been closing some of them down and consolidating them. So I think most people are probably still at the GRB, but I think they closed down the M.O. Campbell Center, which is on the north side. So go on that website. If you're thinking about trying a shelter, give them a call first. Make sure they're still open. See where they sent the people who left their shelter, because like I said, some have gone to Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, different places like that. So that is emergency housing. Next, we want to talk about apartments. So I mentioned last week in the video, if your apartment is going to force you to pay, because when I did my last video, it was before the 1st. So today is actually September the 4th. So if you hadn't paid your rent already, it is late. Legally, your landlord can charge you late fees. Now, a lot of them were gracious enough to waive those, or you guilted them into it. Either way. So they waived those for a certain amount of time. I know some people got 4 or 5 days, some people got a week. If it's going to be longer than that, you need to talk to your landlord and figure out what your options are. You need to, if you haven't already, file for the emergency FEMA assistance. I know a lot of people have been saying, oh, it's taking too long, I haven't gotten it yet. That's why I told you to apply for it a few days ago. These are slow processes. You're talking about bureaucratic red tape, which just mean governments. They're huge bodies. They move really slowly. And honestly, they're trying to take care of a really large amount of people. So if you haven't talked to your landlord, do so now. If you have rental insurance, most rental insurance doesn't cover flood damage, and rental insurance just covers the contents, unfortunately. So check out your policy. You might have an amazing one that does cover it, but you need to read your policy. You don't necessarily want to you can call the company and see if they have some some caveats that they've in place, or some, just giving everybody $500. I don't know. Call them. Worst case scenario, they tell you exactly what your policy tells you, which is you're not covered. Now, if you lived in an apartment that was completely submerged in water, which is not uncommon, especially if you're in the Greens Point area, which is where my church is, or if you're over on the west side by I-10, Beltway 8, that direction, a lot of those apartments are underwater, and they're not going to be habitable. Leases for those places, especially the ones on the west side, because they're going to be underwater for a while, those leases may be voidable. Again, you need to discuss these things with your landlord. Thanks, Dominic, for joining us today. Dominique, sorry. I got a long list here. Talk to your landlord about whether or not there are similar or comparable units that are available in the complex or in a similar complex somewhere else in the city. They may be able to accommodate you and just move you elsewhere, and you probably will want to sign a different lease just to be sure, to get your I's dotted and your T's crossed, but they might be able to transfer things like your down payment or whatever deposits and things like that, so that you don't have to redo those. So I'm going to do a little bit about real estate. The biggest one, and this goes for everybody who's cleaning up, bleach does not kill mold. It will remove surface mold, but it doesn't kill it. So it can harbor inside the wood if you're cleaning studs, and it can come back. So you need something like Odor Ban. There's a couple other brands that kill mold, but make sure you know what you're doing, and wear masks. I've been hearing lots of things about lots of nasty things that people pick up when they're cleaning up these houses, because they're breathing in the spores and the nasty stuff. I mean, it's Houston. It's hot. Houston, Port Arthur, all this area is hot. So it's been wet and now it's boiling, and you don't want to inhale that stuff. Put on a mask or a bandana, something to cover your nose and mouth when you're cleaning out these homes. I have a friend who they dealt with some flooding, I think last year, and they have some amazing tips. I was going to try and include some of them in my video. That list is so long, I'm just going to post it all at once. I'm going to let Molly know, hey, I'm going to copy all your information into one giant post, because she had like 5. So, and they also had some great information about whether or not you want to be your own contractor and all the hoops you have to jump through with FEMA. So I'm going to share all of that with y'all, because it was great information. Her and her husband are the real MVPs. So I did mention last week also about getting deferrals on payments. You need to do something specific if you have a mortgage deferral. So if you call your mortgage company, I'm going to use Wells Fargo as an example, because I know they were one of the ones that got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. If you get a deferral from them, it might say it's a 90-day deferral. What you need to do is find out when those payments are due. So Wells Fargo got, I don't want to say caught, but people figured out that they were actually going to have you pay the full 90 days on day 91. And if you didn't, they were going to declare you in default. So what you need to do is read the fine print before you agree to any of those 90-day deferrals, okay? Even if there are, you might be able to negotiate with them. You might be able to get them to re-sign your loan or restructure it or whatever it is, but you need to get in contact with them. All right. So that's real estate. Oh, I also there is a company called Deal Realty that says that if you have any questions about real estate regarding flooding and things like that, you can call them at 281-639-1805. Again, that's Deal Realty at 281-639-1805. And I'll post all of this in the comments yet again. All right, transportation. So I've heard a lot of things about people's cars being flooded and them not being covered. If you have comprehensive coverage, which is usually required on new cars that have a loan on them, that are secured by somebody else with a loan, like you make payments on your car, that you're required to have comprehensive coverage, that covers flood damage. Typically, liability insurance does not cover flood damage. So if you had flood damage to your car, hi Latanya, thanks for joining us today. If you had flood damage to your car, there are a couple of options you have. FEMA might be able to help you. They're first going to require you to go through your insurance, even if you don't have full coverage. And they're also probably going to require you to apply for what's called an SBA loan. People usually think of them as small business loans, but they actually have what they call disaster loans. They're going to require you to apply for one first. Now, you may not get one, and then FEMA will figure out how to get you a grant. Again, this is going to take time. If you're looking to replace a flood damaged car, be very, very careful. Hi, Deborah. Thanks for joining us today. Be very, very careful about what you purchase. It is not uncommon for cars that are flood damaged in one state to slide over to a state that's adjacent, right? So Oklahoma, Arkansas, New Mexico, the surrounding states, they'll slide around, parts of Louisiana, they'll slide around and get sold as a non-flood damaged car. So you need to, I'm going to put up a post about what to look for. Hi, Ricky, thanks for joining us today, about what to look for in flood damaged cars. One of them is obviously pretty simple. It's a moldy smell. Some other things are dirt, where dirt usually wouldn't accumulate, rust on the undercarriage. What was another one? Oh, foggy headlights or water inside the headlights, things like that. If you had a car that was flood damaged, don't try to start that thing. Go ahead and call a tow truck, get it towed. Best case scenario, if you only had a little bit of damage, they can clean it out for you. But in reality, your car's probably going to be a lost cause. There's no use in starting it. You're just going to ruin anything that might be able to be salvaged from it. So be sure to check those VIN numbers. If you're buying a car anytime in the next few months that's not brand new, be sure to check those VIN numbers on Carfax or a website like that to see if it has flood damage records anywhere rather than just in your state. Child care. So there have been, the YMCA has some emergency child care centers that they have set up. I have not been able to locate exactly where those are. I'm assuming they're going to be in the YMCAs. But most of the YMCAs are open. There are a couple that were completely damaged. I know the Bradley YMCA over here on the north side, not far from Willowbrook Mall, and one more. There was one more that was damaged. I can't think of where it was located. But a lot of those are offering free emergency child care. So if you and your husband, you and your wife are out looking for housing and you're trying to tote the kids around with you, you're trying to find an emergency shelter and you're trying to drag them along with you, they're there to help. They also have places where people can take showers, and this is for everybody, not just for members of the Y. People can take showers, charge their phones, just lay down and get a little rest. This includes our first responders who have been amazing. There are some people from my church, particularly Reggie Porter. His house got a bunch of water in it, still got water in it because they're next to Bear Creek, and he's been working like nonstop. I think his wife has seen him once. So I want to thank all of you guys for all you're doing, and just know that the YMCA is there for you. If you pass by one in your car or in your ambulance or whatever, stop by. They will have somewhere for you to sit down and just get a break. Next, health. So if you have dealt with any of this, you're probably not okay. Whether your house was flooded, your car was flooded, your family, you're probably not okay. It's okay not to be okay. Take some time for yourself. Cry if you need to. Hit something, go run it out. Whatever you need to do. Don't neglect your own mental health or that of your children. Children are pretty resilient, but they still deal with this stuff. Try not to ignore those symptoms. If you're around somebody, hey William, thanks for joining us today. If you're around another family, you got a family staying with you and the kids had to be rescued or they ran away from the water, they might be having nightmares. If you can, try and pay attention to those. I know there's a lot going on that's hard for parents. They're just trying to get things back together. So if you're a partner with a family, if you're an aunt, an uncle, a family friend, and you're paying attention to the kids, minister to their needs as best you can. And if you can't, seek out help. Now, we'll tell you that Doctors on Demand, which is a virtual doctor, like an interview service, basically like I'm talking to you right now, they would ask you what your symptoms are, and if you needed some sort of medication prescribed, let's say you found yourself with strep throat, or you had some sort of wound that you needed an antibiotic for, anything like that, you can go to Doctor on Demand, and they're going to give free appointments to everybody affected by Harvey through 9/5, which is tomorrow, and the code is Harvey 2017. I've shared that a couple times on my page. And it's really awesome. I used them once before. I like them. They're very nice people, but you do need either a cell phone with video access or a computer. Next, last but not least, and this is the one that's kind of near and dear to my heart, since my family and my immediate family was not affected, is how you can help if you're either not here or just weren't affected. So obviously, if you're here in Houston or the surrounding area, there's lots of places to volunteer. There's lots of donations going out, and you can look that up on the web. Those are all over the place. I wanted to give some maybe different ideas about how to donate and how best to help people directly. I've also heard people expressing concern with just sending money directly to the Red Cross or things like that because they're not sure how long it's going to actually take to get to the people, and that's a valid concern. So one thing you can do, the YMCA, as I said, they are taking donations, and they are actually literally just taking people in off the streets and letting them take showers and supplying them with the things that they need just to get through a day, right? Basics, a little bit, some food, cases of water, things like that. So you can donate to the YMCA. If you go to ymcahouston.org, it'll be right up at the top. It says Hurricane Harvey relief efforts. Another one that I saw early on Facebook is a really good idea is gift cards. So if you are a person who is in far, far away land and you know some people here who need some help, there's this wonderful option of e-gift cards, or you can either, because mail is going to be spotty, especially if somebody's been flushed out of their house, there's no telling how long it's going to take them to get their mail. If you're in Houston, you can go to a shelter and just give people either gift card, like Visa gift cards, things like that, gift cards to places like Subway where they can get a quick hot meal. You can do gift cards for clothing and school supplies, so maybe Target, Walmart, things like that. Visa is like my personal favorite just because you can spend it wherever. And also, if you see people who were able to drive to safety, especially people who were coming like from the Corpus Christi and Rockport, Portland area down by the coast, a lot of them were able to drive their cars out because they had their evacuation notice a couple days in advance. So they may have driven to places like San Antonio and Dallas, and they might be in shelters there. Wouldn't hurt. Get you some gift cards, head out there, and be like, hey, you guys need gas, here you go. It'll get you around for a couple days. You're not going to fill their tank for forever, or you can if you're feeling generous, right? For people who are in Houston, or you have connections in Houston, you can do things like pay rental deposits or prepay extended stay hotels. Because like I said, a lot of the FEMA approved hotels are full. So even if someone has a voucher, they might not be able to find anywhere to stay. But there are still more hotels that are open in Houston. You just have to pay. So if you're here, you know somebody who owns a hotel, you can be like, hey, I'll pay for 3 rooms for a week or whatever it is. If you're generous, or if you have a church that wants to participate, a business, you can do something like that. You can do the same thing renting storage units for people who are able to save some things but don't have anywhere to put them now. You just go with them, rent it with your money, but put it in their name so that they can access it. You can donate blood. The Houston Blood Bank, I forgot the exact name of the Houston Blood Bank, but the Houston Blood Bank lost a lot of blood. Gulf Coast Blood Center, that's what it's called. A lot of blood that was on farther down the Gulf Coast. So like I said, probably the Port Aransas area as well. The Port Aransas, Rockport area, Portland, down there, they lost a lot of that blood down there. So if you want to set up a blood drive, or if you're in Houston and you can give directly to the blood bank here, that's a great option because there are a lot of people who are either sick now or who will be sick and will still be needing that blood. And then last but not least is food banks. So there are quite a few food banks in this area of Texas. Obviously there's the Houston Food Bank. There's the Southeast Texas Food Bank, which serves like the Beaumont, Port Arthur area. There's the Montgomery County Food Bank, which serves up near Conroe, and this is only for people who actually know Houston and how big it really is. It's huge. We have like 5 food banks. There's the Galveston County Food Bank, which serves, as you would guess, Galveston County, and then there's the Corpus Christi Food Bank. So I'm going to post links to all of those in the comments on this video. If you have any questions, if you are trying to figure out how you can make more room in your budget to help people, if you are trying to figure out how to help people, if you want some specific families to help, I know at least 3 families who have lost everything, and there's a long list of families that have lost something or just can't get home because of the reservoirs that have been flooded out, please let me know. You can either email me at christian@dobetterfinancial.com, or you can DM me either on Facebook or on my business page, Do Better Financial. I just really want to help people out. So if you have anything that you want to do and you don't know where to send it, let me know. Our church is helping people in the Greenspoint area, and there's churches all over the city that are doing everything they can. I also want to give a shout out to all of the other religious organizations that are helping in this crisis. They have not made it on TV, but the mosques in Houston have been stepping up. They have been feeding people, housing people. If you are a Muslim and you want to donate to one of those, they are doing great work. If you're not a Muslim and you want to donate to one of those, they are doing great work as well. So I can't think of the exact name of their organization, but if I can find it, I'll put that in the comments too. There are organizations, I believe Second Baptist and also the Church of Latter-day Saints actually have sign-up lists where they'll go and clean up people's houses. They're sending out just groups of people to go and clean up houses. So there's no shortage of things for you to do. If people turned you away to volunteer at the George R. Brown or something like that, do not get discouraged. There will be plenty of work for a good long time. If you are a good-hearted person who is like a contractor, or you work construction and you want to help, we probably don't need you right now, but give us like a couple weeks and yeah, it'll be your turn. You can come help us rebuild things. Hi, Beverly. Thanks for joining us today. So that's pretty much all I have. If you have any questions, like I said, you can email me at christian@dobetterfinancial.com, or you can DM me here on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you prayerfully next week. I am about to go pass out. Have a lovely afternoon.